If Skywalker returns, the new Jedi will rise.
Welcome to another episode of Other Side News. I'm Wesley.
I'm Will.
And with episode 8 still on the horizon, question one, so many things are burning up the minds of Star Wars fans, such as Rey's parentage, is Finn a Jedi, is Finn going to be half cybernetic?
Who the hell is Snoke?
Yeah. Another big one is who is Snoke? You know, where does he come from? He just kind of comes out of nowhere for Force Awakens, seemingly to be very, very old.
Now you think you figured it out.
Yes, I think I have figured out Snoke's identity.
So here we go.
So this is my theory on who Supreme Leader Snoke is. I think Supreme Leader Snoke is a clone of Emperor Palpatine. And that Palpatine, upon his death, used the radical dark side power known as essence transfer to put his mind, soul, into the body of his clone, which was waiting for him in case anything ever happened to him. If Vader ever turned on him, or if he ever died in any way, I believe he had this. Now, how I came to this is, in the EU, essence transfer was a big thing. There were several Sith Lords who used it, from Carnus Mur, who put his soul into a talisman, and anyone who came in contact with this thing, he'd try to take him over. To the Sith Emperor, who used it for generations to stay in charge. He was later, he was tree-trained Darth Revan, several other Sith Lords in the EU. But with EU being thrown away, there are canon characters.
EU's done.
There are canon characters that had knowledge of this. Darth Bane, from Clone Wars, being chief among them, he tried using it in his last duel against Darth Zana, his apprentice, when he realized he wasn't going to win the fight. But she was able to fight him off because she was strong-willed. And if you're fought off, your soul becomes trapped. You don't move on, which I think is why we saw Darth Bane in the Clone Wars, that he's stuck, in my opinion. Darth Plagueis. That's the important one. He knew of essence transfer, but Darth Plagueis refused to use it because he wanted to find a way for his own body to live forever. I don't think...
The wise.
Yes, I don't think Palpatine would be that picky, especially since Palpatine had something that Plagueis didn't have. A cloning facility. And if you're obsessed with living forever, and you know these unnatural abilities that the Jedi Order didn't like to talk about, then I think once the point that the Clone Wars was... Because it's popular theory that Palpatine didn't kill Plagueis until the events of Phantom Menace, or shortly after. What was going on then? The clones.
Shit, I never finished that novel.
The cloning facility was getting set up. It was set up 10 years before Attack of the Clones. That's around the time of the Phantom Menace. So I think once Palpatine had his cloning facility, and he knew essence transfer, had learned it, studied it, with his master, he didn't need Plagueis anymore. He had everything he needed to live forever. That's why he would dispose of him. Because if you want to live forever, it would seem like he was jumping the gun to just, say, screw it. I just want to rule the galaxy alone. No, I think Palpatine, he seemed very patient in the movies, waited a long time to spring his trap.
Yeah.
I think he would have waited.
But
then
tons of Jedi you had to deal with.
Yeah. And even beyond clones, I kind of wonder if he planned on using this on one of his apprentices. Because if you look at his two main apprentices, Count Dooku was just a placeholder. Count Dooku was there until Anakin was ready. Darth Maul was completely loyal to Palpatine. I don't think it would have been hard for Palpatine to overpower him and take his body if he needed it.
Right.
And Anakin was very emotionally unstable. Very easily persuaded. So I think he could have done that too, because it kind of bothered me of, why would you pick an apprentice that you claim will one day be more powerful than you if you want to live forever and you know that the Sith way is to betray each other? I think Palpatine had in his mind either A, I'm going to have a clone backup if he ever strikes me down, or B, I can overpower him and I can take his body. So, moving on from that is how do I get the correlation between, if essence transfer was only used in the EU, why would it come up in the new movies? Because so many other things have already. We see Grand Admiral Thrawn coming into Rebels. He's being brought from the EU.
Yay.
Ben Solo is Jason Solo. Just Ben Solo kills Han. Jason Solo killed Mara Jade. But it's the same character. And in fact, Rey could represent his sister from the EU. So, looking at Snoke, are there any similarities with Palpatine? Well, we know that Snoke said that he witnessed the rise and fall of the Empire. Well, of course, Palpatine did too. And it's really strange that
Palpatine the Wise.
First Order is structured very similar to the Empire. You know, if you see a regime fall, you don't really want to make another one that's almost just like it, all the way down to the Death Star, known as Starkiller Base. But Snoke does. I think this is Palpatine. He's doing what he knows. Palpatine is interested in the outer space in the new novels. He says he senses something there. Could even be the source of his power. Now, some people have claimed that he is sensing Snoke. I don't think that's it. I think he's sensing something else, but since the First Order encounter, or the remnants of the Empire encounter Snoke in that outer space, I think that's where the clone went after Palpatine's demise, likely into hiding. Knowing he had been defeated once, the clone would retreat, in my opinion, and would seek out whatever this is. You know, whatever he was sensing.
In the book Life Debt, the Emperor sends a stowaway to the planet Jakku to take care of something for him, to look after something for him.
Yeah. I think that could be that clone. In fact, before I even go further into Snoke, I think in Rogue One we will see the clone for the first time. I think that's what's in that Bacta tank. I think it is Palpatine's clone. I think, because Disney is running, Star Wars now, and I think they're going to structure Star Wars much like they've done with the Marvel Universe. There will be tie-ins, throwbacks, a way where you could watch the movies and go, oh, okay, this character was introduced here. Right. And so I think that's the point for that scene, that the Emperor is checking on his clone. Also because there are the 2 Imperial guards there, and they answer to the Emperor alone, and they're the only 2 people in the room other than that tank. So I think that's where he keeps them, because in the EU they kept the clones unconscious in tanks. That way there was no life experience. So basically there was no mind to fight you off when you went to transfer yourself. So it was a very easy transition. And that was a method that Palpatine liked to use. Right. He was the most prolific user of essence transfer. He could even do it to other people. One general of his... Yeah, in the EU. One general of his, he kept killing him and reviving him. Just because he was pissed off. So going back to Snoke. Snoke is intrigued by Ben because Ben embodies the balance between the light and the dark. Now that's something to me that Palpatine would be interested in. I think this would be a Palpatine who has learned from his mistakes. He saw the power that Luke wielded. Yeah. He saw, he much like Yoda in Revenge of the Sith, I think Palpatine may have realized, okay, I was almost there, but I was a little overconfident. Right. I wasn't, I thought I knew everything. So I think that's why he would be interested in Ben, and also, huge dick move to get back at Luke by taking his apprentice and family member. Now, one of the most interesting things Snoke has said is when he describes Vader as having a flawless career as a Sith, save for that one moment of weakness. Mm-hmm. There were only 3 people in the room when that went down. 2 of them died. Luke's the only one that knows what happened. Now, I'm sure he shared it with Leia, but I don't think that was a big thing that was spread around, because people aren't going to want to hear it. Right. Even Leia couldn't reconcile what Luke said with the person that she knew. And obviously Han couldn't either, because in Force Awakens he states that his son has too much Vader in him. Vader was not seen as a good person, regardless of what he did. In the events after...
I saved my son, I'm a good guy now.
Return of the Jedi. So I find it strange that Snoke knows that.
Right.
And I think that's how I think that's how Palpatine would view Vader. The guy was perfect, except for that one fuck up, which is something that he demands Ben be able to do before he'll finish training him. Right. He needs Ben to do what Vader couldn't before he'll finish training him, and I think that's very important. Also, his fear of Luke. Everyone's talking about Snoke like he's this big, powerful dark side user that we've never seen before. Right. If so, why is he so scared of Luke? Luke is by himself. Yeah. Why does he fear him?
He's got to end the Jedi.
You think he'd just take him out, but the Emperor would have reason to fear Luke. He'd already lost to him before. Yep. And I think that another little thing is the meaning of Snoke's name. Snoke meaning to prowl or sneak about, which is what Palpatine did his entire life. He hid from the Jedi when he was sitting 3 feet away from them. He's very good at hiding in the shadows. So that's, in a nutshell, that's why I think that the reveal of the clone will be in Rogue One, but there will be no correlation that it's Snoke. The reveal of Snoke being Palpatine I think will happen in Episode 8, and I think it'll be Luke to make the reveal because I think Luke knows. Because I think Snoke would have told him.
So, with this theory of Rey being a descendant of Palpatine running around now, are you saying that this is basically going to be turned into a family affair where Palpatine's going to look at Rey and go, "You are my granddaughter,"
it possibly could be,
or my female clone.
It possibly could be, because the reason I add that Luke, I do believe that Luke knows what's going on, is in my own mind I try to solve why did Luke go away.
Right.
You know, because in my own mind, the explanation they give in Force Awakens doesn't cut it at all. It's like, okay, your school is destroyed. You see that the dark side is rising again. You know what's going to happen, and then you take off. Dick move, Luke.
Right.
Dick move. But, you know, with some people saying that Rey is Luke's daughter, and he thought she was dead, and Kylo abandoned her on Jakku. Okay, maybe that'd break you, but to me, your school is destroyed. Your pupil family member is swayed to the dark side, and then you find out, because there's no way Palpatine would not be able to gloat about this, you find out that it is your old enemy Palpatine, that he has taken everything you built, just like you did to him, and he has destroyed it. I also think that would be why Luke would have gone seeking the first Jedi Temple, might even be why he's on Ahch-To, is that maybe he's looking for a way to finish Palpatine once and for all. Because I would imagine essence transfer, if that is what's going on, Luke would have no idea that exists. He might have learned a lot between Return of the Jedi and, 10 years before Force Awakens when everything came falling down. But he probably wouldn't have learned to that one. I mean, they didn't teach him a lot. Anything else he would have to piece together. They didn't even teach him about Force lightning at no point where they're like, you'll need the Force to face Emperor and Vader. And your lightsaber. Don't throw away your lightsaber. I think I'm right here, and I want to be right here because there never was a definitive showdown between Luke and Palpatine.
Now we'll hopefully get it.
And yes, I think through
But he looks so damn decrepit.
I think there either was a fight, but also there's a reason for the decrepit in the EU
Could
once
we
again,
see
which they take things
take
from
place?
them. That would be cool.
Episode 9.
But which could be something he wants Kylo for.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish his training.
But what I think is, once again, from the EU, and just because they say legends doesn't mean they haven't borrowed from it. We already went through that. But it did say that Palpatine was so strong with the dark side. I mean, he's he's the epitome of a Sith. That the dark side was so strong in him, it degraded his clones very fast.
In the EU.
In the EU. So, that would explain Snoke looking so ancient.
Right.
Because the transfer would have had to take place at the end of Return of the Jedi, obviously. And 30 years have passed. And also, clones, even if he had set it to age normally, which he likely would have, it would have had to have been an adult when he took it over. And Snoke is described as being a good-looking man. Mm-hmm. But as his power grew, it said that's what degraded his body. That's what it says about Snoke.
Yeah. So, looks like we've cracked the case.
So I think Snoke will be revealed to be Palpatine. This is his ultimate revenge.
And it could be Snoke versus Rey and Luke in Episode 8.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to it.
Right on. All right. Let us know what you think in the comments. Did we nail it this time?
Let us know what you think.
Palpatine lives. I'll start making shirts tomorrow. This is the other side. We're out.
Bye.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Is it possible to learn this power?
Not from a Jedi.